Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Drew? Drew, are you there? Where, Drew?
Happy birthday to us.
No.
Happy birthday.
No, look, now, hello, mate, nice to see you, but no.
Hello.
We did 2 years last week. It was our 2-year anniversary last week. That was your opportunity to sing happy birthday to 2 years. Today, great, really exciting, 100th episode, lovely, but no singing.
But that's it, is it? No. All right.
No singing. No.
Can I just say congratulations to you and me for 100 episodes? How about that?
You could do that, mate. And
I've done that.
You know what?
Consider it done.
Completely serious. We've had some wonderful messages, haven't we? Some really lovely,
really great,
messages, emails, etc. So for anyone that reached out to us to sort of congratulate and say well done for 2 years of podcasting and for reaching 100 episodes, which we're doing now, obviously, but it really has touched it. It's meant so much to hear all the positive feedback and to hear everyone's congratulations. So thank you so much. And actually, another massive thank you. We did say last week to each and every one, but a massive thank you to all our lovely guests. Many of whom have messaged us as well or got in contact to say
it's amazing they're still talking to us, mate, isn't it? I mean, they've actually come back and said no.
So but yeah, no, so it was really lovely, actually, albeit briefly, to go back over all the guests we've had on and to think back on all those amazing episodes and all the things we learned and all the hilarious stories and really kind of wonderful conversations. And yeah, as you say, to the fact that they're still talking to us and still reaching out, it's meant a lot. So all our lovely guests, all 41 of you over 37 weeks, that is right, isn't it? I think those numbers. Yeah, a massive thank you again. And thank you to everyone that's reached out, including our lovely guests that have messaged us, past guests.
Well, Sam, it doesn't stop there. I mean, 100, we're 100 not out. We're going on. And you talk about lovely guests. We have a lovely guest joining us today.
We do indeed.
Yeah, a lovely friend of mine, who is going to be, I'm sure, sparkling and wonderful and delightful, as all our guests have been. So, without further ado, I think we should just get Mr. Tom Neill on and chatting away as we normally do.
Tom Neill for episode 100.
And there he is. Good morning, Mr. Tom Neill. How lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Morning, great. Tom. Lovely to meet you. Thank you for joining us on Drewling Samantics.
Oh, a pleasure, Sam. Thank you for having me on.
Well, now, look, first off, I should say there's absolutely no pressure, Tom, but this is our 100th episode.
No.
So I don't want to put you under any pressure, but just don't cock it up, mate. No.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank
you. Who would have thought? Who would have
had
thought?
any recognition from the king as yet?
We've had no telegraphs, no communications. The only thing we are celebrating, and the only thing we really need to do, is to celebrate with a good old chat with you, mate. So there
Fantastic.
We go.
Thank you.
Although I guess the king's quite busy waiting to be coronated, isn't he? So maybe
he'll be gutted.
The telegram's just delayed. I think that's
gutted. Absolutely gutted. But there you go.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares?
We're alienating the royals already this morning. It's
that's
standard.
But no, we have an honoured guest, Tom. We know each other for quite a few years, and indeed we had the pleasure of working together last year, which we'll have a chat about in a minute. Good, But you recently met Sam. So, and for all our listeners and viewers, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And why the hell are you here?
Well, the last question is by invitation. I'm very, very pleased to be here.
Very great to be here.
I'm an actor and a musician and an arts producer as well. I try and keep my hand in a lot of things for the purpose of keeping going, as we all need to do in this industry. And I've been doing that for 21 years now, 21 years as a pro. So touring theatre, I write music, record, I play with bands, I run a poetry competition, I take photographs for people sometimes. So that's me in a nutshell, really.
It's one of those things that we talk about a lot on the podcast, where we'd all love to go, no, I just do Shakespeare and that's all I do. Or, yeah, no, I only ever model high-end brands. But actually, in reality, we're all multi-skilled people with many different facets and pathways that we take. Number one, because as you say, because we need to keep going, we need to keep the finances rolling. But equally, it's an industry where we're given that facility and the ability, I suppose, to kind of branch out and do various different things. From your perspective, where did you start and why did you branch into the certain areas that you did? What was sort of your primary or starting point, really?
Well, I was always quite good at both things, sort of music and theatre. So when I was at university, I studied both of those, and then it's really from people asking me to do things. And when I started out, I was orchestrating music for pantomimes, and they wanted to do it on they wanted live music in it for the excitement of it. But they also wanted some backing tracks, and if you have a live musician playing with backing tracks, they need a click track. So I'd orchestrated these songs for the pantos, but I had no idea what a click track was, so I had to go and research that. And in the same sort of vein, it's really there are people's requests of needing things that forces you to upskill and to research and to broaden out and be multi-talented, I guess.
I love upskill. I'm having that. That's a bit. It's great. It's a lovely way of describing when you do something. You say you're kind of halfway there, or one is halfway there, and you go, I don't know that. I'll research that and learn that. And there's, I mean, there is that facility nowadays to go away but also there is the need to be able to do that stuff. People do ask all of us to do different things, and I think we all respond to the challenge. So if anyone is watching us on YouTube, they will see behind you there's a guitar, there's a saxophone just casually in the background, Tom. But I mean, if we put the number of instruments that you play in that, it would be a very filled background. I mean, I know when we worked together last year on Ghost on a Wire, you were presented with there was a scene in it where we stepped out of character almost and did this sort of barbershop quartet, sextet, whatever you want to call it. And you were presented with probably the most out of tune, decrepit piano.
The piano was a challenge, yeah.
It was a challenge, wasn't it?
Piano tuner who got it in shape, whose name was Naomi Yap, if I remember.
That's right.
Piano tuner, yeah.
But I mean that was an extraordinary challenge, wasn't it? To make
it was,
that...
and also it moved around the stage, while I was playing it. It pushed the piano around while I was playing it. So that's another skill, I guess. And if you're especially if you're an actor muso, you're going to be asked to dance with your instrument or to use it as a prop or all those kind of things. But I think it's learning new stuff is exciting for me, and I think it's tempting to say no, I don't do that, or doesn't really interest me. But if you have the courage to say yes, then you become a better performer, better artist, I think.
Yeah, it's you don't want to limit yourself. I mean, obviously. No. You don't want to whack stuff on your CV that you have no hope of doing. I mean, I'm not.
No, don't make stuff up. No,
I'm not going to tell people that I can fly a jumbo jet to try and get roles in films when the chances of me learning that in time for an audition are fairly slim. But equally, as you say, you don't want to stop yourself doing things just because you go, well, that's not something I can do right now. But if it's not too unrealistic, then absolutely this is an industry where you do want to branch, you do want to push yourself, and you do want to explore new things and new skills. So
I remember going to see La Bête with Mark Rylance in it. And in the program, I was already impressed that at the end of his credits list, he had a list of his current tutors. And I thought, yeah, that's the way to do it. You should be learning all the time, training all the time.
That's very interesting that you would list. That I know a lot of people nowadays. There's when put show reels together, people put their some of their audition tapes, their self tapes on the show reels. And I think it's kind of like there's people are not afraid. There's afraid of failing. But I think it's more. I used to be afraid of trying, and I'm not. I make no bones about that. I would back away from doing musical auditions. You wouldn't believe it. Whoa, But then challenging oneself, as you say, is like, and then I did go. No, actually, I'm going to do them, and that's also down to my wife, who's a singing teacher, and encouraged me. But it's unless you dip your toe in the water, sometimes you never know that you have that skill. To use. So is there if you only, it's like a desert island disc question. If you could only take one disc or one thing, what would it do? Is there a deep lying passion, or is there something completely different? You go, actually, if I could really do it, I'd play the triangle for the rest of my life. Is there something that you could do, or is that just too frustrating?
Set your sights high there, Drew. If I could play the triangle. Now,
well, you know what I mean. If some people, I mean, I always thought, what would I do if I couldn't act? And I mean, I think I love using my hands. I love making and building things. I'd be very happy to do sort of set construction and that kind of thing, or I'd be happy to make stuff, which is totally not what I do, but still vaguely connected. But is there something? Is there one element of your many skills that you would go, actually, if I had to choose, it would be that one?
Well, if I could act all the time, I'd be doing that. Cool. If there was full-time work doing that, that's what I'd be doing. Yeah,
right. So,
but I enjoy it. That's not to say I don't enjoy the other stuff. I enjoy it all. That's yeah.
So, talking further about music, as you say, you were into music from a young age, and you've always done music. How did that branch into the studio, which you now play an enormous part in?
Yes, I worked in an arts centre for 10 years, and I was a freelancer there. I was working, I had a desk there and I had a desk at home. And in the end, working from home was just not enough separation, really. And I'd spend too much time working. So a studio space came up in Windsor at a place called Prime Studios, which is a creative centre. There's 11 of us working here. And I thought that would be a good move for me. So I got a space here and I started recording some music with a friend. And then I've developed from there, really. And now I, as well as using it for my self-tapes and online auditions for myself and others, I also record other people here. And I have a mixture of local and national clients. So I've done some work for Reading Borough Council. I've done some work for Sue Ryder, some voiceover work. And I've also done some local singer-songwriters. So a lovely singer-songwriter called Katie Maddox, who has some material out now, some really beautiful personal songs. And more recently, a chap called Thomas Heppel, who's a wonderful blues artist. He's just been nominated for 3 UK Blues Awards.
Wow.
And I recorded his first EP, which made the top 20 blues album charts.
Wow.
So it's sort of humble beginnings, really. Of, I really had nothing when I've been here 8 years, and I kind of had a laptop and some headphones and a mic. I've got a wonderful photo of this empty room just with like sparse bits here and there. But investing, and you keep working and you keep investing in better equipment and better skills for yourself, and it grows. And So that's how that came about.
Yeah, I'm a self-confessed techie as well. I do have all sorts of random bits of equipment, and we've had actually recently a couple of photographers on various different sort of backgrounds, but they talk very much about it being quite an addiction, technology, and particularly when you're working with it so often, you kind of go, oh, well, I could treat myself to that, and that'd be great. And then you actually end up realizing, no, I bought that in, I've used it once, or I haven't even taken out the box yet, but it looked good on the page when I was buying it online, and it sounded exciting. So it's a bit of almost a runaway train at times, but
sometimes,
hopefully you're managing to use most stuff anyway.
Yeah, everything I bought has been used for at least one thing. Yeah.
Well, that's better than most of us already. Then
that's the justifying thing. I've used it once; it's fine. It's been out of the box. It's been sweet. It's earned its keep. It doesn't owe me anything. That's the.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
We've referred to it in the past, but I remember when during lockdown, you couldn't buy a microphone for love nor money. You know, everybody was at home, you know, draping themselves in duvets and hiding in wardrobes and doing voiceovers. And there wasn't a microphone to be had
no
anywhere.
Or webcams either. You couldn't get a webcam.
No,
silly.
Exactly. And now if you
flooded the market, so there were so many people out there at that point doing voiceover or trying to initiate their career in the voiceover area, because we didn't have a lot of other choice because everything was shut down. So it kind of was a vicious circle. You couldn't get a microphone, and even if you could get one, you were up against so many other people that it made it almost a pointless exercise. But thankfully, life has started to take on, or certainly in the last year or so, has started to take on a more normal feeling, shall we say. So things are progressing.
If you want a microphone now, if we go on those certain websites and sale point, they're flooding. I mean, you can get a microphone like that now.
There's a lot of secondhand ones out there, I'm sure.
Loads now. Yeah, they're there to be had. You mentioned working out of an art center. Was that was Southfield Park, wasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
Which is, I know I've worked there a couple of times, and it's not only is it a lovely theatre, but it has also some of the most beautiful grounds surrounding.
Yeah, they do everything there. Yeah, so sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, it's a stunningly beautiful aspect. It really is.
Beautiful grounds, a lovely mid-scale theatre, a sort of very cozy private cinema. They do weddings there now. You know, if you're in a business that needs a more relaxed environment, you can do a conference there. But they also do classes, printmaking, silversmithing. They do it already. It's a really what's the word for that? Interdisciplinary, multi-dimensional place, I suppose.
Wow.
That puts it, yeah.
I'm not even sure I could repeat that, let alone try and explain it. It's a fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good place to work.
It was. I mean, and you toured out of there with was it Black Eyed Theatre Company?
Yep. Black Eyed Theatre, very extensive and popular mid-scale theatre company. So I've done a number of tours with them, and they're out at the moment with, I think they're doing Sherlock Holmes, The Valley of Fear, and they're doing Godber's Teachers. That's what they've got on the road at the moment. Yeah, and they really go everywhere, which is brilliant. So they really reach all areas of the country. Yeah,
and they are, again, they have actor musos in. Was that inspirational working for them as well, to provide music for them?
Very much so. We're at the forefront of it really when it started to become popular in around 2008. Before that, there wasn't so much of it around, but it was inspirational and exciting as well, and confusing in your head about where you put your instrument to know where you need to pick it up for the next scene. And but it's exciting work. Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's becoming more common / more popular now, actor muso work? I think it's something that perhaps a lot of our listeners and watchers may not be completely familiar with, because if you were to look at the big exponents of theatre like the West End and national tours, actor muso work is probably not as common. We had a good friend of mine, Harry Boyd, on the show a few months back. He is an actor muso, and he was he in Buddy, I think, Drew? I can't remember what he said, but certainly he was actor muso in that. But it was one of very few shows at the time, and probably these days, that feature on such a large scale, shall we say. But would you say, Tom, that the work is sort of starting to appear a bit more in that vein, and it's becoming more popular?
In the West End?
I mean, in general, just to become more common for perhaps the average Joe, the member of the public, to be more familiar with it. Because us in the industry, we hear about it a lot, but it tends to be much smaller scale or fringe venues where you see these sorts of things.
Yeah. I think there's some places do it really well, like the Watermill, and they transfer to the West End. The Watermill in Newbury, they use acting musicians a lot, and their work transfers into London. You see it a lot in outdoor Shakespeare. It's very popular there, and actually, if you think about it, it's a really old idea.
Yeah.
The traveling troubadour.
Yeah.
From the medieval mystery plays in this country, but also in France in the medieval period, you'd have itinerant musicians and actors who would travel around and play the play and play the music as well. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose we after the unwelcome guest and lockdown, etc. Theatre, you see it now, and you look at what is casting and what is being produced. Casts out of necessity, budget wise, are being they're being cut down. So you are looking at actors are triple threat, that they can sing, they can dance, they can act, and now can they play an instrument as well? So they've got that quadruple thing out of necessity. But I do also think, like you say, Tom, that there is something in seeing actors that you don't necessarily know play an instrument suddenly pick something up and accompany themselves or add something else to a script. I think there's something really, I don't know, it seems to add another dimension that isn't otherwise there. It's almost preferable to listening to a pit orchestra or as you say, a backing track or a click track. I think there's something more exciting about it.
Absolutely. I think so. Yeah. And also, the balance of that is there's something really beautiful about seeing an actor do nothing but act. I remember there's a beautiful piece by Anthony Sher, Primo, which is a dramatization of the life of Primo Levi.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, and there's really not very much going on in terms of the set. There's hardly any. There is a set, but it's a backdrop.
It's a room, isn't it?
Yeah, and the lighting, it changes, but really very subtly. Doesn't change. It's not drawing attention to itself. It's changing, but you wouldn't know it's changing. And really, all you're focusing on is his performance, and it's so beautifully done.
It was a stunning piece. I remember reading the book about, he writes books about the productions, and that one, I think, was directed by Richard Wilson.
Right, I didn't know that. Right.
Yeah, and I think I'm right in saying that. I'm sure someone will correct me, but the whole idea of this massive script, this massive learn, and he said they pared the stage down to pull, not only because he was a big, powerful actor, and they wanted to sort of bring it down to this box. And Primo Levi, but we always know he was, his experience in the concentration camps, and it was just this. He said it became like cell-like, but he said there was nothing there. Everything was minimal, and as you say, he said they wanted the stage to become like a pin spot almost. So yeah, I mean, his Primo Levi's work is amazing. His writing, his books are scary but beautiful, but yeah, I remember that. So that narrowing down, but I remember seeing on the flip side of that, I remember seeing a production. It was a promenade production, in it was in Chiswick Gardens, open air production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and everybody played their instruments. And you were saying about played an instrument, so about losing their instruments. At one point, they were coming up with them on their backs. They had them hung in trees on the side of the lake, and there's a lovely lake with an observatory where the show was taking place, and it makes that natural amphitheatre with this little round pond, well, quite a big pond. And one of the guys put his instrument down, and the whole audience was sort of like drawn because it slid. This sort of, I think it was a cello or
no,
it gently slid down the bank, and everyone was like, "Is it going in the water?" And all the cast were on the other side, and they all turned and looked at this thing, and it stopped, and they all went, "We'll carry on acting now." And then it moved a tiny little bit, and it was that one you would never get that. You know, it was that. Do you remember the night when obviously like a couple of grand's worth of viola is sliding towards the lake, but it was. And then they were carrying their instruments and they were hung. It was a beautiful watching. I think it was a big company as well, running around picking their instruments up. So I remember that being in shows
where you had to throw props, and one night it goes into the audience, and there's nothing you can do, is there? You just have to hope they give it back. That's
yes. Could I have my cello back?
Pantomime on your hands at that point, haven't you?
Well, it was a pantomime anyway, but that particular show was.
But I get there's also an element, isn't there? And there's nothing quite like, and I'm going to reference the West End and School of Rock. There's nothing quite like that show, I believe, in making an actor or someone in the business feel inadequate. Because if you go and watch that show, you are watching young children who are under 10 years old, some of them. Not only can they act, not only can they sing, not only can they dance, but they're also musicians as well. And you're going, right, I am a man in my 30s trying to continue in this industry. And there's a child there of 8 years old that can do all those things immensely better than I can. What future do I have? But equally, what a stunning sort of initial experience for them to go into and to have all those outlets, to have all those abilities.
Yeah, and children have no fear as well. I think they just go for it, and that's something we can learn.
Yeah, was that have no fear. Yeah, never stop playing. Never stop playing.
No,
so,
I mean, it takes longer for those of us who are over the teenage age, shall we say? But
the same now. I'm over 40 now, and sometimes I worry about bending down.
It's not the bending down, mate. It's the getting up. Take it from me. It's the getting up. It's the knees go first,
Right.
Just look after the knees.
You spent your life trying to counter that by being that small that you're close enough to the ground to pick things up anyway. So
don't have to bend down, mate. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea.
You've taken a shortcut. But we have digressed. Certainly.
We have, yes. Let's steer away from my inability.
Tom, talk to us about writing and producing as well. So not only are you obviously heavily involved in the performing side of things and then collaborating with people to help them create art, but you also work as a writer and producer when it comes to theatre. How does that tie in with everything as well? Well, how do you have the time, for example?
Well, that was downtime. So the first thing I wrote was a production of an adaptation of Jerome K. Jerome's comic novel 3 Men in a Boat, which then has been seen not my adaptation, but has been seen around the country, and was sort of picked up by telly. There was a comic travel program based on it, and that was, I wrote that in a January, February, which is a quiet period, and I had nothing to do, and I thought, what am I going to do with nothing to do? It's, pointless. So I set myself the task to do it. And that's always been my way. If there is no work, then you make some.
I think we're all up against that wall fairly often. And I guess the difficult thing is going from that to it then actually becoming something that has produced work for you, or has turned into self-sustaining work in that sense. But Do you still have the opportunity, being as busy as you are, to write for pleasure and to produce for pleasure, or has it very much become just another aspect of paying the bills, shall we say?
No, I write for pleasure mostly, yeah. And you do it when you can. So if you've got a train journey, that's a perfect time.
Yeah.
Any time if you've got your tablet on you, or any time where you've got 5 minutes, if you're on the tube or you're waiting for an appointment or something, then use the time.
I was listening to somebody I was being interviewed. I can't remember who it was. It was ridiculous, but talking about he always had a notebook in his pocket.
Yeah,
and he said he was one of those people that he wrote short stories predominantly, and then he went on and Sidaris, his name will come to me in a minute, but he said. You would hear someone having a conversation and go, "Oh, that's a great line," and 5 minutes later you've forgotten it. He said there were so many times he went, "Oh, what did she say?" It was no, it's not that. So he said he's always good. He said more often than not, he'd be sitting in restaurants with friends and they're going, "Would you stop writing for a minute?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, but I just heard that over there, and you just said something funny." And so it's like the thing. We're all people. If you're in restaurants, people pick up their phone, put your mobile down. But he was like, put your pen and paper down. So it's.
Yeah,
but he was saying he never missed anything. But talking of writing short stories, and he was a poet as well. You run a poetry competition, and you oversee that, and
yes.
record entrants and winners of that. Tell us a bit about that, because that is something I know nothing about.
Yes, we're in our third year of this now. And I love it. I love poetry and reading great poetry. And it's called the EHP Barnard Competition Poetry Prize. It's named after a good friend, sadly no longer with us, but when she passed away, she left a book of her own poems and memories. And she was a good friend to me and my family, and it's dedicated to her. And so this is our third year. The first year, it's always themed. The first year was themed around honour. The second year was themed around birth, and this year the theme is change, and it is for poems up to 400 words, and that includes spoken word. We like spoken word poems as well, so poems and spoken word up to 400 words. And what we offer as a prize every year, there's 3 prizes, is as well as a cash prize, first, second, third. We also produce a poem video, which is read by a professional actor. And the first year we had an Irish chap called Richard Tyner, and he read a lovely poem by Maya Daguerre-Pitt called Timelines. And the second year, the winning poem was called Peanut, and that was read by a wonderful actor called Verona Shard. And this year we're in the submissions phase, so we don't know who's going to win yet, and I usually pick the actor after I know what the poem is, so it all ties in nicely. So that's where we are, and the submissions window is open. It costs £2 to enter. First prize is £100, second prize 75, third prize 50, and you also get the poem video as well to help you promote your work. And it is judged by a poet called Sarah Smith, who's based in Reading. And she won. She's done it for 3 years now, and she's superb, very sensitive poet herself, but also really good at finding what makes good poetry. And she won Reading's Grand Slam last year, and she's also a National Slam finalist. So the poems we get in are just beautiful, and I like to read them all anyway. It's part of the joy for me to be running the competition. And I sit at my PC and I have to take a break sometimes because they're so moving. They're really personal to people's circumstances, and it's a real pleasure to do it. So it's open at the moment if people want to submit poems.
Yeah, absolutely. If we have any Drewling Samantics fans, followers, listeners, watchers out there who are budding poets or already existing poets and want to join in, then please do get in contact with Tom, and we can go from there. Tom, it's been absolutely fascinating hearing about your career with its many branches. We always pride ourselves on being able to chat to people who have lots of different talents and work in different ways, but it's always equally refreshing to talk to someone new who has taken different pathways and somehow combined all their work, or manages to keep everything running at the same time, and equally and particularly impressive to still have the time to do it for pleasure as much as for work. So thank you so very much for coming on and chatting to us.
My pleasure, absolute pleasure.
But I think you probably know what's coming now, because we do like to end this episode by asking our wonderful visitors to leave us and our listeners and watchers with an anecdote or a story or something entertaining to finish up with. Not that the rest hasn't been entertaining, of course it has, but just a big finale. So have you got something that you can give us, please?
Well, it's sort of entertaining, and it's kind of uplifting, I hope, for you. I went to see a couple of weeks ago just an amazing production, Standing at the Sky's Edge at the National, which is a new musical with a book by Chris Bush and music by Richard Hawley, and it was developed Sheffield Crucible Theatres, I'm pretty sure, but it's from up north. It's one of the up north producing houses, either the Crucible or Leeds Playhouse. And I was at the National by chance, working on something, and I went to see if they got a ticket, and the cheapest ticket I think was £50. I didn't have £50, so I said, "Are there any standbys?" And the lady at box office said, "Yeah, we usually get some before the show. They're £30. I didn't have £30, so I said, "Oh, well, I can't do that. I can't do that then." So I hung around anyway, and went back to the box office 5 minutes before the show, and said, "Are there any tickets going?" And she said, "Oh yeah, we did have one come back," and I sort of said, how much is that? And I thought, well, it's 30 quid. And she went, "Well, I'll do it for 20 quid for you." And I was so, really, really, really touched by that. And the show was amazing.
Wow.
It's what we've been talking about, was the way they structured it, with a fantastic live band, amazing actors, the use of the space. It's 3 different timelines, all using the same space, and then some really well put together movement choreography in there as well. If you get to see it, and you can get to see it by getting a day return for 20 quid, or if you they release some for £10 on Fridays.
Wow.
You can join an online queue and get some tickets for £10 to get in and see it, and it's a fantastic show. So yeah,
well, it just goes to show, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, it was perseverance, and obviously that you were meant to see the show.
Meant to see the show, and their kindness as well. They were kind to me.
Yeah. Excellent.
No, I've heard fantastic things about it, and if it is anywhere near as fantastic as this episode of Drewling Samantics has been, there you go, Drew. How's that for a segue? What about?
I love that, mate.
Then yes, people should definitely go and check it out. But no, again, Tom, thank you so much for coming to join us today.
Been great.
As I said, it's been
a pleasure. You're doing great work, and yeah, congratulations on 100 shows. And
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
All right,
we will.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on at some point, but for now,
I'll push off.
You've probably got 8 million things to be doing, even if it is just writing for pleasure. So we shall leave you to your exciting day. But again, thank you so much, mate. It's been really, really enjoyable having you on the show.
Take care, Tom.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Do you know what, Drew? We really do have the greatest guests, like multi-talented, wonderful people, and Tom is certainly no exception. What a fascinating guy! Like, just really wonderful to chat to him and hear about all his many different avenues within the business that he's kind of focusing and excelling at, I guess is fair to say.
He's also, I mean, I worked with him last year on Ghost on a Wire, as we mentioned, and he's also, apart from being passionate about the business, he's also one of the kindest, generous people. He's generous with his time and his skills and his abilities. I mean, running the studio, it's obviously it's his work, but also it's a passion, and he gives his time and his skill to people. I mean, simply overseeing the poetry competition, the Barnard Prize. That's not only that's done out of generosity of spirit, someone he loved and admired, and that sums Tom up. That he is very kind, very generous with his time and his skills. It's lovely to chat to him. Really lovely.
Yeah, it was. And speaking of the poetry competition, genuinely mean it. If there are people out there listening and watching who are budding poets or have been into poetry for a while and actually fancy getting involved, what we'll do now is we'll whack the web address. We'll get it scrolling across the screen now if you're joining us on YouTube. If you are merely listening to us though and you can't see our lovely faces, Drew, you've got the web address, haven't you? Can you tell people where they need to go if they want to get involved in poetry?
Well, it's all the W's, www.barnardprize.uk. So that's BARNARD, barnardprize.uk. Get in touch.
So yeah, please do get in contact. Who knows? In weeks to come, we might be doing an episode where we're talking about a Drewling Samantics viewer, someone who's listened to us for some time, getting involved and winning a poetry prize. Who could have come full circle? And I tell you what, that would be an incredible thing to reference back and remember fondly our 100th episode.
There you go.
We've managed it, Drew. We've got to 100. We've done it.
100 not out
for a wonderful 100th episode. A big pat on the back, mate. We got there. We did it. It was great. So, but I think we're probably back to next week.
Right, so we're not stopping there, but we're going to carry on. But back to normal next week, mate. It'll be you, me, a beer, a coffee, a tea, whatever. Just sparkling chat and conversation as always.
Oh God, yeah. And if anyone believes that, then yeah, we'll not go there. But hopefully, nonetheless, people will want to join us again next week. So I shall raise my beer.
I'll raise my coffee.
Cheers to you, Drew. Cheers to Tom. Thank you for coming on, mate. And cheers to everyone else. This was our 100th episode. Join us next week as we start on the next lot.
We'll be back.
See you then. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.